Hi, Jamie. I sure have missed seeing you this semester. I thought we would interact more in this course, and sorry I haven't had the opportunity to do that, but really excited that we're coming up to the end here. And appreciated your post as usual. You give a thorough and thoughtful response to all the things that you do. And I appreciated you raising the issue at the beginning of your post that the just overwhelming need at a disaster site for mental health care can prompt a lot of therapists to self-deploy. It seems like just the kind and beneficial thing to do, but as we've learned in our readings this week and in previous weeks, it's just really dangerous for people to show up at a disaster site who have not been properly trained and or invited to that site to be deployed. So I thought that our text did a good job of laying out some of the confusion and the negative impact, diverting resources away from victims and those kinds of things that self-deployment causes. It did a good job of that, and highlighted that it's really important to have pre-credentialed and pre-trained volunteers only interacting with the people who have survived some kind of trauma or disaster. You mentioned, the American Red Cross's pre-deployment process, and I think that certainly most people's model, most organizations' model that they try to follow. The American Red Cross does do a great job of not just recruiting, but vetting the credentials of their counselors and then training them in psychological first aid and in their own processes and FEMA processes before even allowing them into DMH work. So, yeah, I think that, this concept of having the psychological first aid training that you mentioned and some of the other preparatory work certainly makes a big difference. One of the things I mentioned in my post that would be an additional idea would be having public awareness campaigns in our country about disaster preparedness before disasters hit. I live in one of the most active hurricane zones in the country, and we have something similar to what I'm thinking about. Here, every hurricane season, there are some ads and things that come out in our region reminding people to have a go kit and other hurricane preparedness measures. So there are some things in place, kind of like what I'm talking about. But in Singapore, they did a great job, like on all the transportation hubs and other community venues, libraries, things like that, to have an ongoing disaster preparedness or terrorist act preparedness campaign where, we almost got sick of them a little bit. You'd be riding on the subway that they called the MRT, and they would be talking about what to do if there was an accident or a breakdown of the subway, or if there was a terrorist act, and they actually had actors, reenacting a disaster response and appropriate things for untrained volunteers and bystanders to do. So I'd love to see something like that really be promoted, at least in the areas that are most prone to disaster, like mine, but maybe some other places too, about procedures for counselors and other trained professionals that want to help, how to get connected and what they can do, and also what not to do for the general public if we haven't been credentialed with a disaster response organization. Then we probably shouldn't be showing up. And I think it would be helpful before a disaster ever hits to just have that in the public consciousness. So that would be another idea that I would add on to yours. But I just really appreciate, again, your thoughtful responses and the way that you highlighted the short-term and long-term adaptive functioning, coping, and recovery that comes after the immediate disaster response. Thank you for always taking a glance at the big picture and trying to think about how everyone in a situation is impacted and to make sure that they're cared for. You're very good at that. So anyway, I hope that you will have a good end of the semester, my friend. I enjoy getting to have you in class. I hope that I will see you again, and take care and have a great summer if I don't.